January 10th, 2023. I guess we'll, item number 1 is stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wonderful.
Who's with us by Zoom?
Well, yeah, Eric, you're with us, I hear your voice. Just want to say where you are, and
I am in Florida and I'm by myself.
Sounds good. I don't think Sylvia's there yet, so she may join us this evening. If you are, please chat in, Sylvia. But she told me that she plans on joining remotely. So Eric, if you don't mind, I'm just going to go through the items, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
All right, great. So next item on the agenda is public comment. I don't see anyone in here, and I haven't received any correspondence, so we can move on from that. Next item on the agenda is review of minutes. Did people get to see the minutes online? Did you take a look at it? Everything? Any changes? Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion?
Any discussion on minutes? No changes? All those in favor?
Aye. That's good. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is discussion on master plan chapter composition. So,
Awesome.
yeah, start with you.
Are you gonna be a slide person?
Yeah, I'll be slide person.
Okay,
Don't worry. Yeah,
Thanks.
I got you.
All right. So some of you were there, or probably maybe watched it last night. We discussed the proposed chapter. So next slide. Sorry, I don't know why that agenda slide didn't take over. So we discussed the chapter composition that we had come up with from the last meeting, and this was the final that was approved by the planning board last night. So pretty similar changes. Just to give a quick review again, we stuck with the vision chapter, which is required for RSA 764.
Colon 2. Yeah, 674 colon 2.
674
colon 2.
I was a little dyslexic there with the 6 and the 7.
Yeah.
The housing chapter, which we are required to do because we have a HOP grant, but also because it should be its own standalone chapter as well. Natural resources is a combination of open space, water resources, and I didn't put recreation, but it'll likely have some recreation in there. Energy, arts, culture, and historic resources, which was a combination of arts and culture and a historic resources chapter separately. Community facilities, and we added utilities to that. Economic development stayed the same, transportation, existing and future land use. Downtown riverfront design, which we had already proposed anyways, but that is going to be a standalone chapter and implementation. So those are what we're going to move forward with. I'm going to be working with our executive director and Bart and others to revisit the timeline, because some of these weren't, for example, the arts and culture and historic resources chapter were actually not happening at the same time on our flow chart. On our yeah, I took out the timeline just so that it didn't get confusing, because it's going to have to be done over. And I believe there was another one that we had the recreation chapter separate. So we're just going to need to revisit that to see what makes the most sense. We are going to still be starting though, and continuing with, I should say, vision, housing, and open space. So the open space work can continue happening and will tomorrow. You guys have a meeting tomorrow. You all have a meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, we ask questions now or after you're done talking about chapters?
Yep. And then we have already started with the housing stuff, so a lot of the data is being collected right now and will continue to be collected and finalized as in tandem with all of the data updates that we're doing in general for the entire region. So those are important pieces. So we'll at our next meeting, if not beforehand, we'll have another timeline associated with that. So, but yeah, did you?
So there's not a separate recreation chapter?
It currently is.
There currently is, yes, but not as part of the updated master plan.
So if Conservation Commission is doing open space water resources, are we supposed to tie in the recreation, all components of recreation, or what was the thinking there?
I think that that's going to depend on how we do this. We saw, last night we talked a little bit about that there's probably like 4 different chapters that's going to go in, that recreation could be addressed in. So
Okay.
the natural resources chapter, arts, culture, I've seen that commonly, especially regarding culture. Community facilities and utilities, and economic development.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
now that we have the final approval from the planning board, I think that's another kind of task for us to vet that and make sure that everyone's, especially as the master plan teams get going. Unless you had anything else to add on that part.
No, that was part of the discussion, Ellen, last night. It's like it touches so many different aspects of this plan. So, and that we thought it'd be better to, not overburden so many chapters and, put it in different chapters where appropriate. That's my understanding. Is that correct, Val? That's your, okay.
Yeah, and even downtown riverfront design, that's probably going to be a big one for that one too.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, recreation will be in a lot of pieces.
And then also recreation for facilities too. That'll be there. So it touches all aspects, a lot of aspects of these chapters.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go down.
So based on that, I reformulated this just a little bit so that it was a little more even. When we combined some things, the master plan team 3 only had arts, culture, and historic resources. And if you remember, last time we had proposed that the downtown riverfront design was going to be woven throughout, but because that still is its own standalone chapter, I tucked it under master plan team 3. This is all up for discussion, which is why it's on the agenda tonight. So I just put this as a discussion point, as a proposal. We had several people that I definitely took notes on this, on who wanted to do what, and I think that this would still be accurate based on that. So Ellen had wanted to stick with natural resources, the team, and open space, so kept that to team 2. Sylvia had wanted to do 3. Lindsay had wanted to do 4, so community facilities and utility. Sam said number 2, which we really didn't change that much. Actually, we didn't change it all, except for it's now open space, water resources, and natural resources. And then Mike number 1. But I wanted to make sure that these still felt, especially again with the addition of the downtown riverfront design going under master plan team 3, if this felt doable, manageable, I guess, for each of the teams. It's basically almost like 3 chapters per group, if you look at it that way.
Sam, do you want to be part of team 3?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. With riverfront design taking its own chapter and moving to 3, that seems like probably where I would focus.
Perfect. That's great.
Just to be clear, do you want to be part of 2 and 3 or just 3?
I think can be part of 2 through work on Concom for the next couple months,
Okay.
Okay.
especially with that being kind of the first step anyway.
True.
Can I also be on 2?
Totally.
2 and 4?
Sure, on all of them.
Absolutely.
And then Mike?
It's team 1 seems to be the fit.
Okay.
I'm not so strong on existing and future land uses, but I'll figure it out.
You'll be fine. Jane?
As needed. I
Okay.
mean, I'm comfortable and uncomfortable in all of them.
Okay. What one gets your most interest? What are you most interested in?
Probably 4.
4? Okay.
Great. That's perfect.
And then Eric, which one you like?
I would think either 1 or 4.
1 or 4?
1 or 4?
But 2 needed and 2. I don't think I'd be very good on number 3. So
Yeah.
I think is best.
Okay.
Are we missing anybody today?
That's Sylvia.
Just Sylvia, right?
Yeah, and then
Sorry.
I'll just give one more update. Plan board up.
I think you have me on 1, right?
Yeah. You're on 1. Right.
I'm on 1.
Yeah.
We have you on.
Yeah.
Team 1.
Oh, I didn't have that.
You got existing and future land use.
Well, it brings up another subject too, right?
Yeah, we'll segue to that. And then also at the last meeting, plan board meeting last night, the plan board endorsed the idea of bringing someone from the school board as well. So he'll be added to the core group. So whoever the board chooses to be on here, they'll be added to this team as well. So then we can filter them in.
Yep.
So,
I'm curious, we have a rec director and then the arts, culture, and tourism commission, whatever, chair.
yeah,
Would they be
absolutely.
invited to participate at this
Yeah,
level?
so they're going to be part of Team 3.
Right.
And so I went to their last meeting. So this is like when we're helping develop the chapter. They're going to be kind of our experts, you know, if you will. So helping the subcommittee develop the chapter. So I reached out to them, went to their last meeting, and asked if they were interested, and they are interested. They confirmed that, and then over the depending on where our rescheduling is, so TBD. But I was going to go to the next few meetings that start that process of developing that chapter, based on the current schedule. We'll see if that schedule might be modified a little bit, but
To Mike's point, the idea is that each plan team will be beyond
yeah,
the committee by
Correct.
pulling in, different
Right.
resources
Exactly.
for that particular team.
yeah, and I'll be on all four, so I'll help facilitate that, bringing in those experts, and for those,
So I anticipate calling a meeting to start talking about the housing. Apologies, I just started getting a cough here. Starting to talk about the housing meeting sooner than later. Probably. Sorry.
no worries.
Probably within the next couple of weeks, and these can be virtual, right?
Yes, we can do virtual. So we can do hybrid.
Good.
So depending on the format, we still have to have an in-person quorum if it's a proper subcommittee meeting. So, but we have the technology to have these hybrid meetings. So yes,
Okay.
answer
But
your question.
Is
do the
it?
team meetings need to be?
No,
Those
not
those
team
can be
meetings.
separate, okay.
Those can be separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was
So
thinking.
Yeah,
those could be virtual.
Yes.
Good.
And they wouldn't be noticed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good. Yep. So we'll look forward to Mike, Val, and Eric, and obviously the two of us
Mhm.
calling a housing meeting relatively soon to start talking through that one. So.
Okay.
Great. This is fun. I'm glad. This is really easy.
Great. All right.
I trying to think if there was anything else. Oh yeah.
We'll
the
go to
next-
themes.
Yeah. Just to start planting the seed, and we wanted to do some homework on this. We're going to add this to our contract because these have come up quite a bit, and regional coordination, if you remember, was proposed as a chapter originally, and because it has so many intertwinings with the rest of the chapters, we're proposing, as you remember from our last meeting, to make that more of a theme or something that winds between all of the chapters. And then came up with 4 others that the SRPC team is going to take a shot at defining all of these, giving some structure to them, and then at some point, whether it's I don't know if it'll be our February meeting, it could be, or our March meeting, is just deciding on which ones that the subcommittee would like to move forward with. And the idea here is that these are things that again wind between all of the chapters, and there are ways that you can prioritize one of the ways you could prioritize what's most important to the town. For example, if an action hits all of these pieces, it should be a priority, hopefully, for the town to implement that action. And the goal would be that your actions do actually meet all of these, or that they're not opposite to them. So that's another way of looking at this. But I like to call these lenses. Some people call them themes. So whatever makes the most sense for the terminology as we go forward. But we've seen a lot of communities use this structure, again, for prioritization, and then also to make sure you're really meeting the needs and the kind of direction that the community wants to grow.
So are you anticipating that these themes would be driven by what the community wants, or
I think
where
we
this
should-
committee
yeah.
is?
Yeah, so test
So this
driving
would
them
really
at the,
be out of the visioning process.
So test driving them at the visioning, at the community workshop, finding ways to, but understanding what the definitions are to test drive them from. Because if you put community and social cohesion out to some people, they may not understand what that means. And if we're going to ask them if that's important to them, like defining what that is so that they understand where you're coming from. And we can add to this too, which is why I wanted to start the conversation now, to see what people's thoughts are, and if you have any, and as you're over the next couple of weeks, if you have any ideas or see really cool definitions. Like I've seen some really interesting definitions around resilience, to be honest, and so I'm interested to see what people's thoughts are. There's a book actually out there called Resilience, and the way that they define it is a lot different, around bouncing forward, for example, and not thinking about going back to where you were, but rather how you set up that structure to be stronger and to think of what's next. So anyway, it's just they're interesting terms for a lot of folks, and making sure we have a standard definition for each of them is really important. And that you all feel connected to that too, so we test drive them.
It may be worth revisiting the 2015 visioning process and the outcomes of that, because
Yeah.
that was on, a multi-day process.
I
And
did see
seeing
some of that
where
on
some of these themes were all obviously presented within there and how they ranked and what
Yeah.
should be pulled in.
Thank you for mentioning that. I did start looking through some of that when I was looking at the visioning chapter. There's some good stuff in there. Some good information. All right, do we want to switch gears to the survey really quick?
Yeah, does everyone go with that approach? Just right now, this is what we thought, and it could change. So, through visioning. Great.
All right, so we have, we got 2 more responses since last night, so maybe people did watch the planning board meeting.
Nice even number.
We have 198, we're almost at 200. And if you remember from our last couple of meetings, we talked about we did some postcards. There were actually quite a few distribution places that Sylvia sent those out. And you can see the numbers, like the spikes, like when she dropped them off at places. It was really funny. Social media is definitely the best place that we got a lot of feedback, both primarily through Facebook, it seemed, but LinkedIn was a good one as well. And then I want to say the other there was a third one too. Oh, the flyers, and then what was that third one? And unfortunately I can't connect to the internet, so I can't see what the other piece, the other high participation rate forum was. But those 2 were the big ones: the postcards and the social media. So we're still. I put the age group one up there, but there were a couple of kind of highlights I wanted to mention. Definitely a lot of single-family residential folks, people who live in single families. Only about 22% of your renters, and you actually have one of the most equal amounts of homeowners versus renters that I've seen in many communities. I think it's like 51, 52%, 46%. It's a nice mix. And so seeing some more renters would be good to participate. A lot of folks, 40% of people who responded have lived here over 10 years. So a lot of long-timers, people who've really set roots in Newmarket. Mostly, like I mentioned, residents are responding. Some businesses, we did send this out to a business group, a business listserv, and we did get some responses from that, as well as I think probably from business owners who were receiving the postcard that Sylvia and Barb were sending out. As you can see from the age groups, and I gave each of you have the community profile that I mentioned at the last meeting. I just decided to print it, so if we wanted to refer back to it, I'll give that to you if you'd like to refer today. I have some notes on that, but this is what we do. Yeah, I'll send it to you. This is what we do every year. This is what I referred to last time as the data snapshot. So we have 3. There's actually 4 different buckets, but I only printed 3. So the demographic section, the economic vitality, and livability. And so demographic and population and household distribution is kind of scattered throughout those 3 buckets. But if you see on the first page your population by age, we're definitely missing folks from the 45 to 54, which is one of your stronger age groups. I wouldn't say it's the most, but it's probably 3rd or 4th of all of the age groups. So that one's at only about 8% participation rate so far. And we like to see them as connected to your demographics as much as possible. It's not always possible, of course, but if we were to target where to focus our efforts on getting more feedback, I would say that would be one. The other would be on renters and, and if we could, families with school kids, but your percentage so far is pretty good. You're getting about 72% of your households don't have children, but you have only about 19% of your households that actually have children. So you don't have a lot of families with kids in the schools here. But it's always nice to hear from families with kids. So we can get that, and I know Bart, again, he mentioned the discussion that we're having with the schools, with the superintendent to get them more involved, which would be great. And I think we're intending to get something in the packets for the schools, for the kids soon, so that hopefully we'll see a bump in the participation. So based on this, we wanted to propose to to extend the deadline of the survey for a couple weeks to see how that goes with the responses from the families and some more outreach to these more targeted cohorts, if you will, groups of folks, renters and the other age groups. So, but open to thoughts and questions. We just wanted to make sure that you felt connected to this process and somehow we can get some more outreach and participation. We like to see like 300 to 400 responses if we can, you know, based on the size of the community. But you are smaller. You're is it 5,600?
65.
65. I think there's my dyslexia.
So
So
I
Oh wait,
think
it's on here.
I only remember because I think it's the same.
I think we're 9,000.
I think we're
our
9,000.
population, we're just under 10.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought we were.
Really?
yeah,
Oh, sorry, 9,400.
Yeah.
I think I was thinking households.
yeah.
I think I was too.
So I think reaching out to Chinburg, Scott Foster, that's Cherry Hill, right, and Cheney, if we can get them to send an email with the link to the survey to their residents, we'll hit a good portion of the core rentals.
This is Scott Foster.
Yeah, it's Cherry Hill
Yeah,
Apartments.
Cherry Hill, yeah. Okay.
Because I think that's the age group that you're looking at as well. I think you're
Yes.
gonna find a direct correlation between renting and that age group. So those would probably be the three big ones.
You said Chinburg, Cherry Hill, and what was the last one? Sorry.
Cheney.
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 Yeah, Lane.
Well, I can work with you.
Um,
Yeah.
Any other big ones?
Those are the big ones, and that'll get a good chunk. I mean, that's gonna be,
That's probably at least
Oh,
50% of the rental.
it's at least 1,000 units, at least.
Awesome. That's perfect. Okay. Great ideas. Yeah, the targeted stuff really does help, and sometimes it's hard to do that all at once. And I think we did put postcards in one of those in their.
That was Rivermore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, the commercial side of Chinburg's building listed there, and then also Rivermore.
And those are all condo owners.
Yep.
Unless
Yeah.
someone's renting.
Right.
Any other ideas, thoughts?
You didn't ask me, but I wonder if it's worth, a thing that I found success, I should say who I am. I'm Ivy Van, and I have been hired by Stratford to work on the coding piece of the HOP grant work. So this kind of demographic information gathering is the thing that I do other places, but I'm not in charge of it here. One thing that I found helpful is to identify, and you may have already done this, is to identify regular social or service groups and get 5 minutes on their agenda. The Kiwanis, the Rotary, the Women's Club, the Garden Club, whatever, the Friends of the Library, whatever you've got, get 5 minutes on their agenda, come in and say, we're doing this thing, we really need you to fill this out, have postcards to send out with the link on it. So that would be my suggestion for getting a few more.
Anyone else, any other thoughts? Okay.
So the rec department's got an amazing email
Yeah.
list.
Yeah,
Sure.
Amy.
Did we get in touch with them?
And they'd be all
Yeah.
age groups
Yeah,
with their programs.
I'll get in touch with Amy.
Okay.
Church groups, I don't know if there are any. Do you have a community supper?
I went to the thrift shop. There's a church group thrift shop, and I dropped off some stuff there. So,
If there's a community supper, I don't know if you have one, that's a great resource.
You know, Pastor Patty at the community church,
Pastor
again, has a big community.
mm-hmm.
Well, can you get it in the bulletins is the question, right? That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. If you have other ideas, let us know. We're happy to.
Yep.
Oh, right. So last thing is the community workshop. So the thought is we looked at a bunch of dates. We cross-referenced. The idea would be to have it in March because that's right before we're gonna start, finish most of the other chapters, and because both the open space and the housing chapter are due at the end of June, this is a perfect time for us to and also to have the vision chapter start to come together. Good timing around, not around any holidays or
After town meeting.
after town meeting, also after school vacation, so March is a good time for these things. So we looked at the town calendar and tried to avoid any other subcommittees or boards, commission meetings, and settled on March 18th, which is a Monday. So we wanted to run that by you all first and make sure that's something that you're supportive of setting that date. And then if you have ideas on any other workshops or events that you've been to where you particularly liked something that they did, we'd like to try to really innovate on this workshop. And we always come with some ideas, but as we're starting to plan and the vision group comes together to pull together the actual program or agenda for the workshop, we're open to ideas. But
So you're proposing like a Monday evening? Yeah, it'll be tough getting seniors,
okay.
because they don't want to drive at night in the winter.
Dark,
So,
yeah.
I think when we were doing them in 2015, I think we had 2. They were Saturday workshops. They were really well attended, several hundred people.
Yeah,
You know, and
I
then
think
with
you'll
the
have a hard time
breakouts.
getting a lot of people on a Monday evening.
Uh,
Trying to get people out in the evening. In the winter.
It's dark at 4:30.
So you found success in those Saturday workshops?
Very much so. And you had the ability to have a lot of the breakouts, so people, again, we're looking at topics of 3 different topics, but is really the topic the vision, because, the master plan is supposed to be all top down from the vision and everything falls under it. So if we're really trying to, and to not have multiple workshops through the process, because then I think we'll lose people participating.
Yep. Well, this one again is housing and open space are required to do this now because they're due at the end of June. And so we're tucking vision in because then that's the kind of the beginning of the rest of the master plan chapters. So, and then that's where the work will spur from for the rest of the chapters. So,
Including housing and natural resources,
Correct.
which is under the open space. Because they could change depending on the vision. We could be having this assumption on developing housing and open space plans, but if the vision isn't driving that, it's inconsistent, right?
there needs to be consistency with it for sure. I mean, don't anticipate we're going to set the vision at that actual meeting. I think it's going to be, this group looking at what the
Sure.
input is from that
From the
community
community.
workshop, and then feeding that into the rest of the chapters. But having as an opportunity for the community members to specifically give input on 2 chapters that are going to be due, and it is actually a requirement, a task, to have open some sort of community workshops for both of those. So that's why we're bucketing everything to be able to maximize this project as well as our timing.
And that's being driven by the grant.
The HOP grant and
Yeah.
the open space grant.
It's not being driven by our master planning process, it's
Correct.
really being driven by these grants.
Correct.
It is, but we're also trying to, as we've mentioned all along, be seamless. So while we're saying it is still, the communication around it will most likely be, this is a master plan workshop, and then this is kind of our focus, if you will. So, developing a vision, and then we're also going to start on our first 2 chapters. So the idea would be to make sure that the community doesn't feel like this is going to be that segmented, and that it does flow nicely amongst the chapters, so.
Any questions?
But we can look at a Saturday if.
Yeah, I was
So
about to say,
Saturday.
that's my only question, is it sounds
Saturday.
like there was a couple good points made about Saturdays.
So we should probably look into
And
that
both
then.
Saturdays on both sides, nothing's really happening on both sides of March 18th. Towards the end of the month is Easter, so that might not
That's right.
on Sunday,
Early
but
this year.
So like the 16th?
yeah.
Yeah. No, there's no March vacation, so.
Easter is,
For childcare.
Oh, it is?
yeah,
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
It's,
Alex?
16.
Does the 16th work for folks?
Yeah, I mean,
Or other thoughts on the weekend?
a side conversation that we were having is Ellen rightfully asked, how do you get people my age to come? And I think the answer is unless you're offering some sort of childcare, you don't. So not that that's the town's responsibility, but I think it's a reality.
Yep.
When we had the school, you remember we had the school stuff, there was a big visiting thing and they offered childcare, and that was pretty huge, actually, so if that's somehow.
What'd that
And
look
was
like?
that- I think that was offered through the rec.
We were in the high school,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't know who actually coordinated, but maybe it was the rec
I think the
staff.
rec department might have.
They might have, because they work with
They
the
do
kids
like
in
a
the summer.
babysitting,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I think childcare can take a lot of formats. So like there was a movie night some amount of time ago. I don't know. I have young kids, so everything blurs together. But they had basically like a craft station or whatever, and so like it drew some of the older kids who liked it, and then the older kids just kind of organically were interested in the younger kids who were obviously attracted to the older kids. So I don't think it has to be like you hire babysitters with the express direction that they don't do anything. Like I think you can do it without investing a ton of resource, but
Could it be something that drop your kids off at the rec center, Amy comes up with some sort of a program, and then people are freed up to come here? Obviously it involves Amy, and she's gotta get buy-in.
I would say ideally it's at the same location,
Yeah, that was
not a drop
Yeah.
The
them
only
off and go
problem is,
somewhere else.
unless we did this
It
stuff
was
at
at
the
the
high
school.
school,
Right,
yeah.
at the
Which
school.
I think
So
we
you could
probably
use the
do on a
gym or something.
Saturday.
yeah.
Seems Todd would be a
Oh, we did it here
superintendent.
last year, down in the basement, auditorium, last time,
It was
yeah.
The school stuff was in the gym, in the
Oh, okay.
school.
school, for the school was, yeah.
But
Yeah.
we can still do it there. I think we have the capability too, from audiovisual too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so it's recorded. I mean, it's something
Yeah.
we can do.
So should we block out the 16th?
Yep.
Is that what we're looking at?
How do you feel about that? And you're,
Yeah,
yeah, good, okay.
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
Alright.
we want to do whatever's going to get the most
Great.
number of people, for sure. I'm glad to hear that childcare will, is something that you'd be looking for. We tried that in our last workshop in another community, and it didn't work. But maybe it was because it was at night and not on a weekend, so.
Yeah, I think it covers a lot of that problem of the parental thing. If you have really young kids, how do you do it? Or even if you have 8, 9, 10-year-olds who are going to sit there for 15 minutes and then complain that it's boring, like you can achieve both objectives. Both of them the older kids can find something to do, and the younger kids can gravitate to the older kids. So
Right.
I think it's just matching them so that the
Yeah.
adults are more free to actually provide input.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, evenings, everybody's just tired. It's hard to stay involved for 2 hours even. In
Do
the
we
evening,
want to start thinking about a time on the 16th?
like 9 to 12 or something, or 9 to, were you thinking
Are we
a
doing
couple hours?
two sessions or one session?
Yeah, I mean, to your point about, coming and sitting through things, we've also seen it work well where it's really more of a kind of choose your own adventure, open house type of style, so that it is more engaging with potential opportunities for breakout sessions, so that it's a combo of both. Like people don't have to come for the whole 3 hours or 2 hours or whatever it ends up being, but they could come for just, the open house part of it where there would be actually activities for kids. And then if they wanted to break out and stay or send their kids home or put them into, if we did have childcare available. Then
So the last one, the Forum 1 was 9 to 12,
Okay,
and then Forum 2, so this addressed it, so Forum 2 was on a Tuesday, 6:30 to 8:30. So it gave people those options.
Yes.
good. And how far apart were they?
First one was April 18th. The second one must have been a follow-up. That was on the June 16th.
Okay, makes sense.
And then the survey happened after the initial forum, the 18th through May 8th.
Can you do an evening, a Saturday one like we're talking about, and an evening one that's Zoom, or virtual, whatever media?
Virtual meeting. I don't know. Have you ever done a Zoom participant? And if so, was it successful? I don't know. It seems like we want more in
Well,
person.
The goal is
Yeah.
the input from
Yeah.
the community,
But
right?
Yeah, I just wondered if you've ever tried it, because that way people don't have to drive, right? You're just home and you can.
Yeah, we have, the.
You do
Zoom
surveys,
has-
and
Yeah.
you can do kind of.
Oh, right, you do the online, I've done those, so you'll pose a question, right?
Yeah,
And then
then-
everybody on Zoom will answer, so
Exactly.
you're getting a whole bunch of data that way.
I don't know, this seems like that might be a potential for
Right.
an evening, session.
Or it's a hybrid,
Could be a hybrid.
potentially, I don't know.
As a second one, not as,
No, I think that's a good idea, Ellen.
So, quick question, just so I understand. So you have the 4 different teams, correct?
Yeah.
So would you have 4 separate rooms? That means you'd have to have 4 separate Zooms, or does it happen all at once?
No, two different
If
things.
it's
So this is like, we'd have a visioning, it would be a different form. So it
Okay.
has nothing to do with the teams per se.
Okay, so make sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
That was all.
yeah. It'll be formatted differently in different activities.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe it is worth the overview of what are we supposed to be doing under the visioning. That
Mhm.
might explain.
Yeah,
your plan,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, no, that'll be part of the planning, why we're here and what we're gonna be doing
Okay.
at this session.
The
Oh.
planning board meets twice a month?
Once,
But we can always have a workshop.
yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe that you could
Mm.
combine it, it wouldn't be super long, but it would be something that, then we know it's recorded. People can go back and look at it. It was, we already have, is it Tim Kremen?
Yep.
Recording that and putting it up on cable TV. So it's just a thought, to be able to have it on a night that's pretty consistent, where you may have people already listening, and
So maybe it could be for the April planning board meeting,
The idea of having the April planning board meeting be
dedicated,
a visioning session?
potentially. Yeah. You have everyone in the room, at least from planning board and, down, I don't know. It could be, I don't know, just an idea, if we're gonna do 2.
we could do the same, we could dedicate our April meeting to open space.
Maybe we can do a week. So a lot of these happen the same week.
yeah.
Riverfront,
This week,
yeah, this
second
week.
week of the month.
Yeah. So it could be mass visioning week. We can, in April.
Because what I'm envisioning for the open space is that we'll have those maps,
Yeah.
at least a decent draft of the various natural resource inventory maps, and so we can use those as the
hmm
visioning part.
Yeah, so maybe we have that initial March meeting, and then we advertise, this is coming up. We'll have visioning week for Newmarket, and it'll be, multiple opportunities through Riverfront, Planning Board, this committee, and then Conservation.
Yeah, and if we can find a way for people to watch it, if they don't want to come, they can watch it and send email, or send some, if they
Yeah.
want to send ideas in, more the merrier.
Yeah, and that'll be kind of the advertising of it too. Yeah, saying, leading up to it as well. Like, this is what we heard, and then this is what we're hearing now, as people react to it. So yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Gets the boards involved too.
hmm
Great. What's the Riverfront meetings? What nights are those?
Those are Mondays.
Those are Mondays.
Yeah. Typically they're at 4, so they're at 4.
Right.
Then planning board's 7. Obviously this one only meets at 5, and then conservation at 7.
Yeah, those are actually, it's
Yeah,
nice distribution
staggered,
of
yeah.
different times,
And then that's before April vacation too, if we do it early,
Yeah, right,
So-
that's a good week.
catch people.
So that would be the week of
You know, 8.
14th for us.
Oh, is it April?
Oh, sorry, April, no.
April
11th.
8, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, week of the 8th.
All right, well, we can start talking to the high school and,
Mhm.
or wherever else we think that is gonna be the best for the in-person, and then think about the best way to engage for the various boards regarding both visioning and then, as appropriate, housing and open space.
hmm Actually, no, that might actually work out well.
Yeah.
So we have the visioning in the first meeting, and then once we have that kind of some base information from that process, then planning board does housing. So maybe we just do it, specific chapter, you know. Open space can be part of riverfront
And conservation.
and conservation.
Those may be
Those
separate.
two. And then planning board is focused on more on housing after that. I don't know, just a thought. I mean, we can, obviously, I'm just spitballing here, but we can think about that. Yeah. So I guess for maybe the next meeting, we'll have a better timeline.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
But ideas are always welcome. Like I said, I'm glad we like to start these conversations way earlier. I know it feels like a long time away, but it's gonna come around the corner pretty quick. Especially with different vacations and other obligations coming up, so. Great, all right. Did I have anything else after that? I can't remember.
Let's see.
I think
So,
it's-
maybe you're gonna talk about this, but, because time will go by quick.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of time. So are you folks writing these chapters and we're helping, provide input? Is that how this is going to work?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so we envision the teams being opportunities to think about trends and what's going on with each of the subject matters. So in thinking about the types of people that you could talk with, maybe other experts, the open space committee's a little bit, or the open space one's a little different because you guys are proceeding with that. But let's say if we were to start with transportation, like inviting Coast in or inviting, people, maybe the DOT, the regional rep for the DOT, our senior transportation planner, to give you the lay of the land of transportation. So kind of thinking about that. And we already started pulling data for all these chapters, so it'll be a good opportunity for you to kind of see what's that base condition for that chapter. And then start, like I said, pulling kind of trends around it. Where are you seeing the highlights for that specific issue? Again, I'm on transportation, so let's say, we talk about sidewalks. And what about sidewalks is most important? Are you missing them in certain areas? Is it the condition of them? And this will also help to see where the gaps are, so that when we do a survey on those specific chapters, that'll help you get the other information that you're needing. And then from there, it's really trying to figure out how best to engage the community, and again, coming together with the goals and what is the vision for that specific chapter.
Okay, or specific implementation strategies. Is
Exactly.
that kind of what we want out of the
Yeah.
meetings?
So we'll have a work plan, if you will, now that we're, like, we've already finalized each of these. We'll have like almost what each chapter, master plan team should be doing. But we wanted to kick this off first to make sure that we got all the teams in place, not confuse things too much. Great question, though.
Yeah, I guess when to you, Ivy. Yeah.
Well, as previously noted, I'm Ivy Van, and I'm an urban planner. I primarily work in New Hampshire, so not so urbane. So what my role here in this HOP grant process is, there is a portion of town that the town feels like is ripe for you want the best development you can get in that place. So what I'm going to do to start with, and the goal is that we're going to use form-based code. Anybody know what form-based code is? Does it ring a bell? I see a nod. Yeah, Bart knows. Form-based code, most of the zoning code that cities and towns in the United States use right now is based on what's called Euclidean zoning, and that's not the geometer, that's the town in Ohio. And what it says is it looks primarily at uses, not so much at the building itself, but what's the use inside the building. Form-based code flips that on its head and says, we want our buildings to be good neighbors. We want our buildings to contribute to a good streetscape, to make people feel, we're looking for a sense of enclosure, because that makes us feel safer as we're walking along the sidewalk. So form-based code, instead of thinking about, okay, you can have a Turkish bath or a bath Turkish, or you can have a shop, or you can have a coffee shop, but those are not two the same things. Or you could have, single family, or you could have duplexes, or you could have threes, but you can't have any more, and maybe you could maybe have a duplex here if you get a special exception. It's less about the use and more about the form of the building, which is why it's called form-based code. And one of the tools that we use when we're writing form-based code is building types. And building types are how tall is it, how wide is it, where are the windows, where's the parking. I have a good friend who says that if he can control where the front door is, what the windows look like, and where the parking is, he can make a building behave. Those are the things he needs to manage in order to make a building a good neighbor and a good presence on the street, are those two things. So what I'll be doing to start with is looking at the subject area, looking at the zoning codes that are in place there now, looking at your current master plan, and also listening to all of this master plan talk that's going on now, using the information from the survey, we're going to have some forums, particularly for people in the areas that are the subject area, about what do they want to see, how do they want it to feel, and then combining all of that information about what people want and what your code says now and where the disconnects are, because I'm fairly certain that right this minute there are big disconnects between what people have said they want and what your code allows to happen. I haven't looked at your code yet, that's tomorrow's project. I'm guessing that it's pretty suburban, and you guys have a great downtown. You have a really good downtown, and part of this goal is to stretch that downtown feeling, that small town feeling, towards the border with Durham and that side of town. So that's what I'm doing. So what I brought with me is because I used to be a nursery school teacher, I always have a little game for everyone. So I brought a game with you that we will use. We'll use this in the forums when we get to that point. Andrew, I'm going to give you a deck.
This would be nice.
Okay, so these, yeah.
I want to buy a hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might be able to buy a hotel.
I already got one, Ivy.
You
so,
got
yeah,
one.
yeah.
I've got 10, so everybody can have one. Okay, so what these are, these cards are called step cards. And what they are is they are 50 building types.
Thank you.
And they were drawn by a friend of mine named Grayson Johnson. She works for the government of Canada. Brad, I'll give you a credit. You can
Thank
do
you.
the exercise too.
Thank you.
She works for the government of Canada in Ottawa now, but I knew her when she was working, we were both working for the Incremental Development Alliance. So this is a tool that was originally developed to help people think about, oh, this is a new one. That's why it's taped shut. No. Both taped shut? No. So what I want you to do is I want you to take this deck and, yeah.
So, folks
Oh,
can
from the
hear.
folks at home.
Yeah, that's
So I'm
right.
like,
Thank you.
these people can certainly hear me. Okay, so, is it on?
I believe it is.
Okay, so what I want you to do is, I want you to hold the deck in one hand. Let's see if I can do this. I want you to hold the deck in one hand, and I want you to look at them, and I want you to quick and dirty sort them. This would be possible in my town somewhere. This would not be possible in Newmarket anywhere. Doesn't mean, do you want to live in it? Doesn't mean, do you want it next door to you? The question is, could it work somewhere in the town of Newmarket? So quick and dirty, yes, no, yes, no, sort them like that. And I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do your
Which side
sorting.
are we sorting on?
You can look at either side. I find the side that does not have the cash-o-meter. So yeah, that side.
The picture side, okay.
Yeah, the picture side. Yeah, the other side is a 3D rendering and it has the cash-o-meter, which tells you if you were a developer wanting to be a developer, this is an expensive project, probably not your first project, or this is not an expensive project, a good one to start with. So quick and dirty, sort them, and then I'll tell you what we'll do with them next. cameras, so I don't know if there's any place where I could spread a deck out and they could see them.
Camera is looking,
Am I looking at it? I probably
Yeah.
am. Yeah, probably.
yeah,
Oh, well.
It's looking, it's that corner
yeah,
right
that corner over there.
Oh,
Well, they can flip
Oh,
it
yeah,
from one side to
it's
the
okay,
other.
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you're not putting me on the planning board. I think they should all go except for maybe one.
Well,
I've only gotten rid of one.
I think that's a really
And
good
that
sign.
could possibly do that.
And you know what that tells me? That tells me that you are people that are ready to think about something besides single-family development or big apartment complexes out by the highway. I think that's a really great, I'm always happy when people say, well, I think they all are kind of okay.
I can see like different, yeah,
Exactly,
they can fit every
exactly.
context.
Yeah,
of
it's
town.
totally about contents, although I will tell you, I have worked with towns where somebody said that there were only 4 buildings that were appropriate in their town. 2 of them were sheds, one of them was an attached ADU, and one of them was a workshop. That's it. That was all that could be built in her.
All that could be turned into a shed.
Yeah, there were a bunch of sheds.
Yeah.
You could have a shed, but that was it.
Yeah, I didn't see detached ADU or mini ADU in here.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, it's in the house hacks.
it's in the house hacks. They have green tops.
I didn't see, I
Oh,
saw it
it's-
I
attached.
took them
And
on the ladies, 'cause I
I
think they're
will have
gonna
to
be
tell you,
miserable.
these decks may not be.
Oh, yeah, I do.
No, no
Yeah.
Oh, good, that
installations
makes me
and
feel
jobs.
But
better.
is there a mini one?
Oh, well, they're just ADUs, so there's no tiny house because that's what we used to just call a house. So we
Yeah.
don't have.
But the mini ADU has 2 ADUs in one, from one house.
Oh, I see, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is the only one that's even questionable.
Let me
I
see,
can
is
see
that
it.
the walk-up, yeah, the walk-up courtyard, but I can imagine where that might go.
It could,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just, that's the only one on the cusp.
Yeah, oh, interesting. So typically what I do is once people have sorted them, I have them pick their 5 favorite. And if we're working with a downtown, I want you to pick your 5 mixed use or your 5, your 5 multifamily, your 5 mixed use. Or if we're just doing housing, then I want you to pick, typically I'll ask you to pick your 5 housing choices. And so what this does is it gives us a vocabulary for talking about things.
These are the ones that
Because
know.
if I say to people, do you think multifamily housing could fit in your neighborhood? Their feeling is, oh my God, no, because what they see in their mind's eye is a 40-unit LIHTC building. And that's not what we're talking about. That's a good building, but maybe doesn't go here. So these cards give us a chance to talk specifically
Like the bootleg.
about specific building types.
Just like the name.
So anyway,
These are your nays?
Those are my nays, this is why.
okay, talk
I
about
think
that.
that's-
I have my nays as
You don't need
limited contribution to
4,500
the
square feet
tax
as a new
base.
Oh, well,
construction.
but is that true? Because I will tell you that I
don't need
personally
3
own a
lots and
duplex. I turned mine
I don't
into
think
a
I had a
duplex.
duplex.
It's a triple. That's a
A
triple.
extra sweet
This is
bootleg.
like what I want.
Yeah.
This is multifamily for single zones. I don't think the multifamily should be in
Yeah,
there for
yeah.
single
Has their own
zones.
space,
Okay,
but
well,
everyone's
that'll
got
be
the
a
same
conversation that
property.
we'll
Because I think it will have a detrimental value on the single family.
Yeah, like
Uh,
From a
that-
real estate perspective.
That's a
actually
conversation that
Yeah.
we'll have to have because
coverage and maintenance,
I have not
like
seen that, but
that.
it's a
It's
conversation
just
we'll
like
have to have.
Right, so it's a really good exercise. I like this exercise.
Yeah, it's a great exercise. It's a
11
great way to
cottages.
start talking. I
kinda
really,
gets old.
so we'll be using
Runs
this.
away.
And these are the kind of building types that when we get to the point of creating the form-based code, we'll be using similar drawings, not these drawings, but another set of drawings that will say, okay, in this place, you could have a triple,
Duplex.
but this is the square footage. So that you know that it's not going to be, usually we scale any
I like these
multifamily,
better 'cause the
we
context.
scale to the largest
Yeah.
single-family dwelling in that neighborhood, which seems fair.
Yeah.
Okay, just put your cards back in your box, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about them. But this is the kind of work that we'll be doing, and these kinds of
interesting
cards, these kinds of illustrations will be the things that we'll be talking about.
Could you explain how this is interfacing with the master plan as opposed to?
I'm using the master plan information.
Okay. But who is driving this? Because it's not coming out of the planning board.
Yeah, this is part of the rezoning effort, so I'm driving it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
from when we were, is this like the next step from the North Main Street
Exactly, this is the north,
consulting
yeah.
work? Okay.
Yeah, so it's the
All right.
North Main Street efforts.
Yeah,
That makes some more sense.
We'll be
Okay.
using this, yeah,
all right.
process.
So,
And then we'll be using the data from the master plan, so like Ivy said, what's existing,
okay,
it's driving it right now, and then once the
Alright.
data comes sprinkling in, and we
contains
start
little
having those
houses.
community conversations, we'll
Right.
have that updated.
okay.
Contained
Yeah.
But
the
the
little
concept was
houses on
going from, that our Main Street went in both directions. So I don't want to lose sight of the M2A zone and pulling that into what's happening.
Right, so right now we had just North Main, that's how it was described, but
Because
I
that
don't,
was, that was phase 2 for the M2.
right, but just for this,
Before
Let's
it-
be
for-
one.
yeah, so for the,
Well, it's currently B1. but
Yeah, B1.
Because the town council nixed it when we were doing the M2A.
Oh, okay.
We
Yeah.
wanted both areas.
Yeah,
So then, this is before you hired.
Yeah.
So then, we hired the consultant to basically do something similar to get it, the M2A approved up
That
on
makes sense.
North Main.
makes sense. Sorry.
So I don't wanna lose sight of where it all started and why we were doing it. If Bart's thinking it's just North Main, because it isn't. It's
Yeah,
the M2A
thank you.
up to the Durham town line.
Yes.
Is what this should be.
The
It-
map is in her scope of work, and she's seen all the districts, and yeah, it is much bigger than.
Than
It's
just
not
going,
Yes.
it's
That's
not-
how I presented in the grant,
Oh,
and then,
okay,
and
this
so,
is
so the grant money,
grant-driven.
yes, it is. This is how we can do everything.
Oh,
So, and, you know, they dictate the timelines, unfortunately, so, yes, so the way I envision it is, you know, even when I was writing the grant, that the M2A is gonna change with it.
Right,
And
that
then
was the
as we
whole
go
idea.
up, and then it'll extend
It
the
fits.
M2A, or it could be something different as you're going up North Main, but M2A up to Durham line.
Yeah, the whole concept is
Is-
Durham line to, you know, to the car wash.
Right.
That was really the goal of the planning board,
Mhm.
deal with that as one extended zone on both North and Main for the gateways into downtown.
Yeah, the car wash, right before, the hill, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, and that'll be part, yeah, so the scope, you know, is gonna change as Ivy's,
Perfect.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, because that got all screwed up, you know, when it was going through the approvals
And then, you know,
process.
as you move a little east to, North Main, so, you know, it's
Jerry
part of it,
Ave
yeah,
or
Jerry,
whatever.
yeah. Okay, so,
Okay.
thank you, Ivy. I think next steps for you, for us, do you need anything?
Well, I'm waiting for, I would like some
Yeah.
maps, but
Mhm.
in the meantime, I'm going to figure out tomorrow exactly, I'm gonna look at the Appendix A, which has all the areas that I'll be looking at.
Mhm.
I need to figure out, and actually you can help me do
Yes.
this. I need to figure out which code, which piece of the code goes with each of those parcels, each
Yeah,
of those areas.
It's, yeah,
It's complicated. I started looking at it today and I thought, you know what, I think I'll talk to Bart and see
Yeah.
if he can't make this a little easier for me.
nope, we should definitely sit down, so, and
Yeah.
go over that, so.
Well, I'll send you an email, maybe we can do that tomorrow or the next day, because I'd like to get going on this.
Absolutely, yeah, let's just Teams or Zoom. We can do
So I'm
that.
sorry, I just have a quick question. So, from a professional perspective, you had indicated that you thought our downtown was pretty good. I was
think
curious
you have-
why.
Oh, well, because you have what looks to me like, on the couple of visits that I've made to Newmarket, it looks to me like you have a pretty good, thriving, mixed-use downtown, which is what we want.
Right.
Because in order to have businesses in your downtown, you've got to have people in your downtown. And it looks like you're doing a pretty good job of that. So.
Okay.
And you've also got, I will tell you that you have some really great building forms, that, building typologies that I'll be using in the form-based code. I saw them when I was out, I went out on a walk with Bart, and then I went on a walk around, in November as well. And so the existing building types that you have will be things that we'll be using in the form.
Good, thank you.
And you're doing focus groups as well.
Yes.
Yes, we will be doing focus groups. As soon as I've done the code audit and kind of assimilated what's in the master plan now and what we're hearing, then what I want to do is I'll want to sit down with people who are part of the parts of town that we're talking about. say to them, you know, we'll do that exercise I just did with you. I'll give them the card decks, and I have 25 of those card decks and access to more if I need them, and have them do the sort. And then what I do is I take a photograph. I take a photograph of all the things they think are possible, and then I take a photograph of the ones, oh, here I am.
Sorry,
talking.
yeah. I get you.
So I give everybody who comes to the focus group, I give them a deck, and if goodness, if we had 25 people, more than 25, we would ask them to double up, but typically I have enough so everybody has their own. And I have them do the sort, and I take a photograph of all the possibles, and then I make them pick their top 5, and I take a photograph of all the top 5s. And then that information I can use so that I can come back and say, okay, these are the things that you said you liked. And one exercise that I might do at a later time is to have a streetscape in the subject area and little drawings of the buildings that people said they liked. And I say, okay, put those buildings, you know, here's a bunch of buildings, put them on the street the way you think they should go. So it's a way of making, the problem with zoning regulations is that they're incredibly inside baseball. You don't really, as a citizen, you don't really think about them until you crash into them when you want to do a thing and it says, oh, well, no, the code says you can't. So this is a way of giving it sort of flesh so that people can see, you know, what the regulations do. And I can say, you guys picked these buildings, and I can tell you that your current code doesn't allow any of them.
I know.
Okay.
So the key to that exercise we just did would have been knowing the area that we were looking at each of the cards as to what we felt would, as opposed to the whole town.
Later, that's true, but actually as an initial sort, it's fine to think about the whole town to start with. Later, yes, we would do more specific, you know, for, if you were thinking about this 4-block area or these 2 streets, what do you think might fit
But
there?
for your purpose, it's really talking about this corridor.
Well, it's talking about the whole study area, which is not
Or
just
the study area.
Yeah, it's not just the
Yeah.
corridor. And so the focus groups will focus on different parts of the study area at different times.
And under the grant, what is the study area?
Study area is North Main Street, and then as you go North Street, between Dame Road and Bay Road through there. So the idea when I was writing the grant is
Right.
you have a mixed use area downtown along North Main Street.
Blue?
The whole colored area.
Oh, the whole color, 4 different,
Yeah,
so you could have 4 different forms-based zoning within those areas.
based on neighborhood input.
And you're including going down Dame Road?
Yeah, so in between
Yep.
Dame Road, yeah, going down. So as you go
Almost.
Okay, so
East.
not physically going down Dame Road.
in
It
between,
does
so,
together.
yeah, going down Dame Road. So the idea is you're gonna have your mixed-use commercial along North Main, and
Right.
as you move east,
Okay,
it decreases in density.
okay,
Going down.
But
It's
it's,
a
but
transition.
it's a transition.
okay, so let me make sure I understand.
Yeah. So the idea is, we've have these focus groups with the neighborhoods to see, you know, have these exercises and see what's possible, how they can be imagined there. You know, based on who, because the idea is not going into neighborhoods and blowing them up.
Right.
It's trying to integrate them, you know, and like, you know, have, evolve them, if you will. That's all. So that's why these focus groups can be very critical, I think.
And
Yeah.
one thing to think about is that, you could say, okay, think about a parcel on a corner. What you put on a parcel on a corner might be different than what you put on a parcel further in on the same street.
How do you, if I can ask, how do you weave in the community spaces like trails and garden, like, because it's not just the structure of the building, it's,
Well, for form-based code, I'm really dealing with the building, how the building meets the street, how it meets the buildings on either side, where the parking is. Trails and things like that, that's a slightly different conversation that is part of the master plan work, less part of the kind of work that I'm doing. What I'm looking at, and you know, Bart and I'll talk about this, and if there's something he wants me to do, you know, we can do it. But primarily, I'm trying to help these places evolve in a way that works for the people who live and work there. As opposed to, often what zoning does is say, okay, this place is done. It can't ever change, it can't ever evolve. And this is, that we've, as people who've been living in communities for 10,000 years, the last 75 years is the only time in human history when we have said to a neighborhood or a street, you're done. Whatever you've got now, that's all you're ever gonna have. If you've got 10 single-family houses, that's all you're ever gonna have is 10 single-family houses. So the goal here is to talk about how do we want to evolve these neighborhoods? And what can that look and feel like?
So Ellen, to answer your question, part of that is, creating alternative transportation modes, so like trails or something like that. So, that is part of this, not necessarily what Ivy's doing, but, we can fit it in, like some regulations, site plan regs, recommendation to update that there'll be some type of alternative path, especially I'm thinking of like a community, say the cottage cluster is something that gets codified, then obviously there's going to be a lot of communal space there, and then how that connects to neighboring existing infrastructure or maybe other neighborhoods too.
So in the visioning session, we could say, we like these concepts,
Yes.
but we also want to integrate
Sure.
trails and walkways and.
That's part of that would be part of the visioning, and then if that comes from the visioning, then that can be incorporated down the line to different chapters and regulations. Yes.
But this still is all regulatory, correct? As far as implementation,
This part is, yes.
My work is regulatory.
Yes.
correct?
Yes. Yeah, we got a lot of different moving parts.
Did I miss a planning board meeting, or is that another subject?
What's that?
No, you haven't. Yeah, this is all new.
Is it? I always updated you on this, what,
Okay.
the,
Like I said,
Yeah.
mentally missed it. Must be
Okay.
one of those Danica
Yeah.
updates.
okay.
All good. Dover's been very successful, I think, with their form-based planning.
Yeah,
work.
form-based code has been really successful in a lot of places. And the thing about form-based code is everybody likes it. Developers like it because it tells them what they can build. They don't have to go through a long, drawn-out, painful, horrible process. Planning board likes it because they don't have to go through a long, drawn-out, terrible, horrible process. And the neighbors like it because they know what they can get. I mean, if we say, all right, in this place, you can build a building that is this footprint and is this tall and the door faces this way, the neighbors know what's coming. They don't have to worry about that 40-unit LIHTC building because it's not on the list of approved building types for your neighborhood. And that's how we end up, by the way. I should have brought an example of what happens. One of the other great things about form-based code is, I don't know if you've looked at your zoning code, but it is a lot of pages.
Ivy, can you move up the mic?
Oh.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Zoning codes have a lot of words in them, and the beauty of a form-based code is it has many fewer words. It has, what it'll have is it'll have a chart that says in, whatever, we'll call it T4 residential, and it's not important what that means, but so if your district is T4 residential, these are the uses you can have, and usually we break them down into residential, communal, and commercial. So a post office would be, or a church would be communal, and then there it says yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. But they're quite broad. And then there'll be a list of buildings. You can have these uses, and then you can have, by right, one of these 12 building types, or 15, or however many your neighborhood decides they're okay with. So, and it is a regulatory form. So if the town adopts this, when the town adopts this, when the city adopts this, if I own a parcel in the neighborhood that's covered by this form-based code, I can look and see, oh, these are the 12 buildings that I could build here by right. That means I go, I pull a building permit, I build my building. Yay, we're done. If I want to build something else, that's a different process. Usually that requires a trip to the Zoning Board of Adjustment and a special exception explaining why I should be allowed to build this building that is not on the list. So that's how the regulatory process works for form-based code.
And it really does minimize applications having to go through a zoning.
Absolutely it does. And for the neighborhoods, I mean, I think that the thing that I I've observed is that, people who are opposed to a thing are hugely motivated to show up and say how much they hate it. People who think it might be an okay idea are not particularly motivated to come out on Wednesday night and say how much what a swell idea they think this is. And doing all of this work ahead of time and creating this library of building types means that people got a chance to say what they wanted, and that's what's going to get built. So everyone feels more secure.
That's the idea. Yeah. Great. So Ivy, me and you will connect tomorrow and start putting out the game plan. And yeah, this is great. Thank you for coming in. I'm really excited for this process. I think it's gonna be good stuff. So
I always try to. From now on, I'll probably appear on Zoom unless it's for the. I'll come to the community meeting because I want to hear what people have to say. And probably at your next meeting, once I've done some of the background work, I'm going to ask you for suggestions of organizations or groups or people or individuals that I should be sure to talk to as part of this process.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
hold that thought.
Yeah, we can start that process
Yeah.
right now. So after this meeting.
Okay. Great.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ivy.
I think our last slide is to discuss, our next meeting is the second Wednesday of February is Valentine's Day, also Bart's vacation. So we were proposing, again, when we were looking through other meeting schedules, either February 5th or doing the 14th virtually, or both. Do February 5th as a virtual meeting. So we're putting that out there. Hopefully everyone has their calendars with them so we can decide that tonight, whatever works best for folks. And I'm open to either of those options. That we wanted to make sure we have something for you all to react to.
What's Bart's suggestion?
The 5th, right?
The 5th, yeah. That was mine because I like to be here. So yeah.
5th is a Monday.
If
Yeah, I
it's good
won't
for
be
me.
here.
The
You
5th
won't be
is a
here.
On the
Monday.
5th?
Yeah. No. Okay.
But, I mean,
Because the 14th, I know I already have a meeting.
Mhm.
I was gonna say like a date.
Yeah.
It's a Wednesday.
I know.
That's so
I'll be
the
in when you
5th
know.
it's a Monday.
is a Monday.
Monday.
And then the 14th is a Wednesday.
I like the 5th.
5th. Mike?
Yeah, that 5th is fine.
Val, if you can't make the 5th, if we agree upon that, we can meet up too.
Yep.
Prior to, and then just have, I can express.
And you looking to do it at 5 again, or?
Yes, 5 work for everyone? So Sam, 5th?
Yeah, that should be fine.
Ellen?
Yep.
5:30? 5:30?
Is 5:30 okay for folks?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, 5:30. Eric, 5:30 on the 5th, good for you?
Yeah, that works.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, great. So be it. So is ruled. All right. So any other questions?
Angie's already sending out calendar
Yeah.
invites.
You know, it's the last item on the agenda. So any other points of discussion anyone want to bring up? Not hearing any. Someone want a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Third.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
This joker. I think I'm
Eric, thank you. Enjoy the weather.
annoying.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah,
Take
you
care.
too. Be well.
Be well.